あ、でもまあ4年はバンなんだな。おお、トランドル。どこだっけな。ルシャンルシャンで戦うのかな。どうやるんだろう。エンチャンター付き AD キャリーやってもいいけどな、これ。やつ何やるんだ。リシン。リシン悪くないけどな。これミッドジャングルがライズトランドルでアーリーリーシン全然悪くない。賞味。パンテオンもまあ悪くないけど、ジャーバンまあ、丸くしたね、ジャーバンは。エズリアル。エズカルマ。まあまあまあ、エズカルマ、ノットバット。右なんでもいいけど、アミルでもやる？いくか。エズカルマ、カリネナは、まあ、エズカルマ側が頑張れるマッチアップだね。カリネナの方がまあオールイン強いけど、オールインされないようにするのがエズカルマ側の仕事だから。まあ、HLE のがカウンターっぽい形を取れてるんだけど、まあ、サイオン対カミルもかなりいいし、ジャーバンとトランドルもかなり相性いい。ライザールはまあ普通ぐらいだけど、まあ、モットは若干負けぐらい。まあそんな悪くない。
We're packed here at the Sajik Gymnasium. So many fans coming down to see who is going to be the first seed to MSI from Korea. And at this point, it's hard to tell. Almost everybody went for Gen.G in the Preds. There was Jonah Strong who went for HLE, but we weren't thinking about it.
It's probably going to be Gen.G or HLE.
Thank you for that inside Ox. Yep. That's why we have you here on the desk.
That's why I'm here.
Any thoughts, Wolf?
I mean,
I'm
gonna hold my thought on Preds because we have a kind of a cool setup here for Hanwha Life. We're looking to collapse, actually.
Yeah. Talk about getting early leads. I mean, Chovy's in a really rough spot. Nowhere for him to go. He just stands still and accepts it. Gives the first blood. And now Ruler's going to be handshook. He has to flash end barrier on Ezreal. HLE, massive early win at the level 1.
And it's, you know, here for Gen.G, your level 1 isn't bad by any means, but they didn't have enough information to be that far up, and it was a really nice collapse there from Hanwha Life. They saw the ward in the brush. They were able to identify exactly where Chovy was, collapse on him, and end up killing him. Chovy doesn't even flash because he knows it is 100% doomed. And now he's down his teleport here early as well, so Zeka can build some tempo advantages there. And man, if you look at the draft here for Hanwha Life, I mean, I think they didn't even look super happy with it when you saw it on their faces when they ended up locking in the Camille. You know, I said I don't think it's going to be a blow to your confidence. If they win this game, 2 games in a row on red side, I think that certainly will be. Gen.G are already a little bit on the back foot.
I mean, honestly, you know, Zeus gets the kill, but I think the worst off here is the bot lane. Ruler not having any sums. We talked about this Ezreal Karma in the bot 2v2, but going down sums against Calista Renata completely changes the dynamic of that matchup, and now they're really going to have to be on the defensive.
It's wild because it gives you advantage in 3 lanes. Like, it's a kill for the Camille, it's a teleport down for Chovy, and then both sums down for Ruler in the bottom lane means you're losing that lane early as well. And Hanwha Life just trying to get all 3. This is tough for the Camille early on in that top side matchup. Sion is just so incredibly strong right now. It's hard to trade with him, it's hard to interact with him. But it is going to get better for Zeus, and he already has that freebie in the bank.
もうラプタースティールはなかなかだね。
Accelerated just that bit more, allows you to hit the first item just a bit quicker and really turn the tides of the lane in your favor. And to me, I mean, the fact that Zeus, yeah, he was playing Rumble in the last game, but Camille is definitely more in his wheelhouse in terms of just taking over games. We give a lot of credit for Chovy and his ability to take over games. Obviously, a little bit of a stumble there in game number 1. Maybe we did praise him a little bit too much, but really got to give credit to Zeus on the Camille. I think he can do big things with this first kill up into Keen Sion. And I'm very excited to watch more of this matchup. You can see already Zeus is doing pretty well. Canyon had his Raptors stolen away. He's now just sitting on 4 camps as the Trundle going to pick up his 5th.
Chovy is going to have to take that first back. Zeka's holding the wave against him. This means Kenny has to come over here because Zeka can just TP back and get a huge advantage here. So this is very unfortunate, very awkward for Chovy in this mid lane. Zeka having a pretty big mana advantage right now as well.
I feel like Ryze is one of those champs that feels particularly bad on because he's so much about resetting when you have like Cheer, resetting when you have like Catalyst, having those perfect resets.
ブレックスに両方のレーンを見るときはダブルバック買っとくとどっちも見れる。
fallen behind in the jungle race, but he took up both scuttles, and now he's going to get to work on his Krugs.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, doing Raptors on Trundle, it kind of sucks anyway, so maybe...
He says thank you.
Yeah, he's like, you know, that camp takes so long anyway. I don't miss it that much. Doing Scuttle Crab, really easy, just do the single target stomp.
バフバフでいって、まあ最後にたどり着きたい側にのキャンプを最後に狩ればいいだけだから。
Which is again pretty wild. The state of Sion right now, and I think the mastery of Sion that everybody has because he's become so meta. Is a lot of players on average is playing him way better than they would otherwise when it was a more niche pick. You haven't played him in a while. You're not super focused on it. Keen is crushing this. The gold lead that Zeus had is fading away here because of that kill earlier with 10 CS deficit. He obviously hasn't cashed in on that gold just yet, but still feeling pretty good here for Keen. As Hanwha Life look to secure this first dragon.
Yep, still no flash on Roller. Looks like they do want to try to fight this, funnily enough. They're going to get a TP here out of the Ahri. There's the handshake, though, on a Duro, who is desperately trying to run away. Peanut, not level 6. And they're just going to let him get out of there. Duro doesn't even have to flash. But first dragon does go over to HLE, trying to use that bot prio that they have.
トップレーン強めに見て、でそれ以降はずっとトップレーン見ないよっていうルートだね。これ以降、トップサイドからボットサイドのルートのキャンプの分け方をするから、本当の最序盤だけトップレーン見る。
But early dragon pickup, as you said, on the back of that Callista run out and the strength they had. All in all, you know, we talked about how obviously the early game that invade, that backfired, obviously wasn't ideal, but things panning out and nothing too bad right now for Gen.G.
Well, certainly not. Still a relatively even game here. See what happens with these first and only grubs now. Old habits do die hard on the top side of the map because this is an angle for sure. Gen.G could get right back into this. Side laning Rise is very powerful. Denying those grubs to the Camille would be really important here. See, Ruler and Duro are heading both back to the bottom lane. Still some wiggle room here in terms of the timing. Advantage Hanwha Life right now for a potential swap. Keen trying to be annoying.
It is what he does. I mean, he's up 15 CS. We do see Zeus is going to catch a wave, so it's not going to end up as 15, but yeah, even with the kill, I mean, he's going to pick up a call to try to accelerate himself and try to, you know, slingshot himself towards that first and second item as fast as possible and just try to deal with the laning stage the way it is. And a Sion that gets ahead isn't the end of the world, but we have seen Sions that do take
レースがサイドレーン自由になってからだね。
He's definitely one of the guys that can get it done. So excited to see what he can do on the Sion. Yeah. Ruler CSing very well in the bottom lane. So Gen.G have effectively stabilized at this point in time.
You have Canyon on the bottom side of the map. Grubs are spawning in 30 seconds here. Peanut could just rush towards the top side of the map. Keen obviously has prio here still, but a lot of commitment towards the bottom side of the map here because of the jungle camps that were available for Canyon. Like, he doesn't have much of a choice. See if he does end up showing up for the Grubs in 15 seconds here. Chovy having constant prio here in mid lane despite losing his teleport early is going to make this a little bit frustrating here for Hanwha Life Esports. Mid and top prio control after that start feels fantastic if you're Gen.G.
I feel like every time we look top, he's taking so much damage in this matchup. It is just not going well. And I think keeping him down, delaying his spikes as much as possible, especially when you have this composition for Gen.G, which is to carry.
ただまあだいぶまでいかなければ賞味なんもないから。
jumping onto Ruler or jumping on a Chovy
ゼカがカバー入ってね。
immediately makes the 5v5 so much harder for Gen.G. We do now see Viper into like setting up for something quickly, and it's important because
まあ味方のジャングル来てれば話違うけど。
dive potential is so easy. Yeah, combination.
Because of the bailout, you can really heavily
ウェイクレーンの髪がこんなもんだね。
I don't know if it'll necessarily matter as Peanut's not even nearby. But the thing is, it's an Ezreal that got his flashback as well as has Arcane Shift, and he did clear the wave, as you mentioned, which is really critical there with the True Shot Barrage. And so they just end up getting Grubs for free here, and Peanut can make no cross map.
Peanut doing a good job of staying out of vision, but Chovy knew that he was on the bottom side of the map, so he's angling towards the top side, and he's not going to get punished for that.
See, this was a nifty trick I've seen before from Chovy. It's you just dodge it.
Just walk in the correct direction.
Yeah.
Don't get hit by the skill shot.
Yeah, would have gone bad if he did get hit by the skill shot, but he didn't, so it was pretty effective.
He's known to avoid abilities and also land his own. multifaceted
キャノン取れ
player,
な
as
さ
we
そう。
know.
あ、取れた。
Very
ナイ
important
ス。
for League of Legends. Zeus,
He wants to hurt the Scion.
he wants to get grasp stacks and not get too low, while also farming. And he knows that Keen doesn't necessarily have a bunch of kill pressure just yet, but Jovi's been angling topside a lot. Canyon's also been up here a little bit with the grubs and trying to make stuff happen.
I mean, if Zeus uses his hook shot again, he is in serious trouble. It looks like he is going to play respectfully now. This angle is so scary. Canyon stays. He's going to get the scuttle.
Yeah, not as much action in this game too as we had in game one. I think that HLE were very proactive in the plays they were making. That's Poppy and the fact that they punished so early on in the bottom lane, so they were able to get a bigger lead. This time around, yes, they won at the level 1, but they only got the 1 kill, and since then the lanes have been going very well for the side of Gen.G. So Gen.G not in a big rush to do too much. They got the grubs, all 3 of them, and now they can try to maybe play for this next dragon. Even if they don't, it's not a huge deal. Let's see if they actually do that, as Delight doing a good job of clearing out all the vision here in the tri-brush.
ただまあ、ボットレも頑張ってドラゴンには寄るように、
and Realmorph is available for
寄れるよう
Jovi
にしてる
to
ね。
join at a moment's notice.
I will say, Zeka has Malignant, which is such a huge spike, so it could be a bit precarious if they do opt to contest this.
Zeka, oh, the flash forward, the engaged Renata might just get the job done. The aggression out of the side of HLE is perfect. As now Jovi on the edge of this realm warp, he does get away.
フラッシュいらない判
Still
断。
have the dragon least. This is going to be another dragon and a kill that goes over to HLE. They're playing this comp very well so far.
Infernal Soul too, super valuable for the longevity of Hanwha Life's comp. If they can pick it up, it is going to be huge for them.
この形でドラゴンずっと取れてるのマジ具合いいね、HLE。
The Fate's Call follow-up as well allows him to continue the pressure. They just instantly delete Canyon, prevent any sort of 50-50 on this, take the jungler out. As Canyon's kind of angling here for Zeka, right? But there's no vision in this brush. There's a control ward here, and he just flashes in for the double, point blank, and then the ult comes out from Peanut. Jovi, of course, having to realm warp away, very narrowly goes down himself. There's a really clutch play there from Hanwha Life, playing around vision. Renata engaging is not what you expect.
Just great layering a CC that, you know, knew what the goal was, took down Canyon, secured the dragon, 2 in the pocket, and that is a great win con for them as the game goes on. We saw how the soul was a big factor in that previous match for them. So continue in that direction. It has definitely been a slower paced game, but, you know, just racking up those objectives can be a big win con as it plays out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty huge. And Zeus looks like he's able to stabilize up here on the top side. Neither top laner elected
まあ
to
チェッ
try
ク
to
しに
join
行
the
きたいんだ
fight.
ったら、ボットレをもっと強めに見ないと無理だね。トランドルはトップレーンにかけてる時間がちょいちょいあるから、この分、ジャーマンより優先権がボットサイド側ないから、2番出るとケアしないといけない。
No cannon. Zeus slowly catching up. And that will become a problem in this game if Zeus can continue to come back here and Zeka can continue to make plays here on this Ahri. It's Jarvan also coming back in the meta. It's pretty interesting to see it already here in game 2.
It's so punishing, right? If you land anything and the follow-up is there, that single target is going to be locked down. And of these champions, you know, Trundle's one of the best targets for that, actually, just simply because he doesn't really have any tools to escape or peel, especially when he drops his pillar onto an Ahri moments before. And so it was a good angle there. I'm really curious about how this game is going to play out when it comes to team fights when Gen.G are all set up, when everybody's together, because that's where I think this composition really shines. You have the Ryze to keep everyone at arm's length. Obviously, it's going to be really tough for Camille to engage into that back line with the Scion in the front line, with the Trundle there. And the Ezreal is just so mobile. It should be super far away, can play around poke. So this part is the part where Hanwha Life are supposed to be winning. This is the part where they're supposed to be getting advantages. The solo advantages, or the solo lane advantages for Gen.G kept them even in this game. Hanwha looking for that third objective. I think that's where we're really going to see potentially the scales tip a little bit towards Gen.G and see what their comp is capable of in a true 5v5.
レーンの状態はイーブン。こういうもんってだけ。
Canyon's there to try and
マ
cover.
ッチアップ通り進行してるだ
I
け。
think just not seeing anyone on the map, seeing the fact that bot lane went missing as well, will make HLE think again.
Yeah, definitely a decent angle, but not going to commit to the play. Do have this Rift Herald about to spawn here in about a minute. Do see Rulers doing a good job of pushing in the mid wave and putting on some pressure, but I do fear for Gen.G if they do try to fight for some of these objectives. a little bit too early before the Ryze is really online, before the Ezreal is really online. And that does mean that HLE might just get a monopoly on everything, especially with the Infernal Soul. If they get like the Rift Herald, throw it straight down into mid, and they're able to turn that into an Infernal Soul point. Yes, you know, this comp, it does have a little bit of longevity problems, but you've got a Camille, and if you are looking at nearly an Infernal Soul this early on in the game, Gen.G will be put on a clock a bit.
Yeah, and now Zeus has this Triforce, he's got his magical footwear, like he actually kind of can play against this Scion a little bit, you know, and continue to trade with them. It starts getting easier here. His Cull is almost cashed in, plus that initial kill he picked up earlier on makes him feel pretty comfortable soaring towards that mid game, but no vision here for Hanwha Life just yet for this upcoming fight. And you can see Gen.G have a monopoly over it. So Hanwha go for a reset and return. They're going to send Zeus to the bottom lane, though, without teleport. And that is as good as a give up on this objective. Just simply going to concede it over to Gen.G.
The thing is, if you don't get the Herald, you get the Dragon, I think they're completely fine with that. So maybe they forego the Herald, try and really aggressively play for Dragon control. If you look at the vision they have around the Dragon Pit, they're kind of telegraphing their intent here.
Yeah. The timing of this also allows for a little bit of push on the turret for Zeus as he goes down there. They have vision. Look at that full line of 3 wards from mid to Dragon, as well as the Tri-Brush control ward. There's there a replaced ward here for Delight the pit. So entry to this with Delight having ult as well, and this flashback up is going to be quite challenging here for Gen.G. And like you said, it's sole point for Infernal. And I mean, the Herald can get you maybe some prio in mid. I think that's what Gen.G are going to have to play through. Yeah, I mean, timing is rough. Like they're pretty late on this.
They're definitely trying to set up as much
初手見返るだし、サイオンが走ってきてポジション取れるようにした。まあこれはギブってもいいね、HLE。
There's wards behind as well for Zeka to TP to. It feels like Gen.G are in danger of being flanked here.
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, they're getting flanked right now, and the pillars down. Here comes the TP. A lot of item spikes hit for the side of Viper, or rather HLE as well. And now Keen has to flash out already, as the sticks were in him from the Callista. Now trying to deal with Zeus, but that is a Camille.
いや、カミル止めた。もう無理だこれ。Gen.Gこっからファイトはきついが、ピーナッツウルトいい、めっちゃいい。ミカエルもかなりウルト入ってる？キャニオンのウルトは入って、おお！わお！わあ！ゼウスゴッド。うますぎ。あ、でも死んだなこれは。ちょっと無理したね。マジでうまかったな今の。
And Gen.G did get the kill on the Dragon, so it allows them to win that, but now HLE take a big fight.
It comes at such a heavy cost to deny Soul Point. The fight brilliant there. Zeus also getting the ult, getting the kill on Canyon, the hook shot onto the pillar, and the flash out. Doing it in style does ultimately go down, but it's a huge win here in terms of gold for Hanwha Life.
And bear in mind,
レースのいい切らせた後にジャーマンがウルトで時間稼いでデカがよくチャーム当てたんだけどミカエル入ってミカエル入っちゃったせいでもうウルト無理だったね。レナタールがかなりきつい。キーンのウルト入り悪くなかったけど合わせられなかったからな誰も。まあスパイク的に厳しい時間ではあるけどライズ・エズリアルだとちょっとティア完成まではちょっと弱いねさすがにコンテストは行ったが。
He doesn't have his flash. He's in a bit of trouble here. Zeus and Peanuts should be able to take him down, you'd imagine. The Flag and Dragon's going to miss. Toby, they don't have the CC to go, and he gets away! They used the Flag and Drag so early.
Yeah, and Chovy is aware of all the cooldowns and gets away there. It's going to get the empowered recall home.
I was like, surely he's dead.
It seems that way because his flash was down. Why? Because he flashed to kill Zeus in the previous fight there at the end. And it doesn't end up costing him. It's a small win, though. You know, when you look at the grand scheme of things of the snowballing Hanwha Life esports comp that has the lead, it's expected to have the 2-item Ahri. You're sitting on that Leandri. It's going to be able to help cut through the Scion. And if you start stacking up the Infernal Soul, obviously cutting through that Scion isn't going to necessarily be a big problem for this Ahri, especially with some of those additional AP stats you pick up for that third dragon, should they get it.
But man,
Gen.G, getting back into this one is going to take a lot of clutch. It's going to take a lot of setup. And I think they're going to once again have to play through vision and potentially catches here. but they don't have a comp that has a support that can look for that initial pick, that can look for that initial setup. And when you're behind, you know, I mentioned the Karma doesn't necessarily have that same hole, but when you are now having to be the one that engages on Hanwha Life and not the other way around, you do feel it a little bit.
I will say the big thing for me is we just got the Seraphs completed for Chovy. The Manamune's going to be finished soon for Ruler. I think that's a point where really things start to tip a bit more in Gen.G's favor. Rod of Ages, we're still a bit away from for Chovy, but I think those spikes coming in is, even with the deficit in terms of gold, that's where Gen.G can sort of leverage. And you think Dragons in 2 minutes, if they hadn't gotten that Dragon, the game would be like over before they really got a chance to sort of play around those spikes. They've bought themselves time is the important thing, and I think getting that Dragon was a really important factor in having that time to play around the spikes that composition needs.
Toby's Rod fairly late here. He'll finish at 25 minutes. Is going to give him a huge amount of experience as well. Could end up taking a level lead on Zeka.
あるのアイテムとしてのスタッツ効果かなりしょうもないからな。
He ends up picking up the Otacon later on. Speaking of, they are grouped on it right now here on the top side of the map. And Zeus, no flash here, wants to hold the turret. I think he's just simply going to have to give this up, and it might not be all he gives.
It's pretty curious that the Otacon, you know, it spawns on the top side of the map. We might get some big plays here. Zay's going to take a big chunk here from Chovy, but yeah, they're just going to start it up. And there's no Dragon to really trade for. That's really what's going to happen on this map is they have the damage with Ezreal Rise. They've hit their spikes, both the Ezreal and the Rise, so they have the damage to chunk down this one. Even the Rift are going to go top, so HLE, big onus on them to answer the call. Peanut goes in, Storm dead!
おーすごい全部入ったあーリ即死ただチョビーはあチョビーも死ぬんだこれちょぴったりうまっうまいがこれでこうなるのかちょディロフラッシュアウトしたいねこれ
And it's just so well played by HLE. I love this play to Duro. The kind of cataclysm in, flag and drag out, the lack of commit. I will say the turn on the Zek was beautiful from Keen, but it just feels like there wasn't that.
いやこのファイトで勝てないんだな。
Keen gets cleaned up. The skirmish is the reset that comes through. Viper just cleaning up members. Chovy has to dip. Keen goes down. And it feels like HLE never lost control.
アタガンが強かったなこれ多分
in the middle of everyone. Chovy can't access him because Zeus is blocking his entry there. Ruler can't hit him with damage either, and Viper's just a blender of damage into Gen.G in that setup. And they just don't attack the Otacon. They don't put Canyon in smite range until he's dead, or they don't put the Otacon in smite range until Canyon is dead. And now we're looking for a setup here on the Dragon. Gen.G definitely better grouped for this.
手光ってるのルールは手光ってるチョビはあれ杖ってなんかエフェクト出たっけ覚えてねえやあれチョビポジションめっちゃ悪いけど合ってるそれこれフロントラインに行くの即死したーあそれに合ってないんだな
He's going to hold on top of Ruler, who does a bunch of damage and immediately dies. It is a second triple kill for Viper in this fight. In this game, Duro barely gets away, but HLE are taking everything on this map.
Viper's just dominating on this Kalista, you know, they took the
フラッシュあるからフラッシュで多分ポジションベイトしてたんだろうけど死んじゃったね一球食らってウートされてもう痛すぎ即死フラッシュのアウトプレイ余地なしカリスタ強すぎるかもこれ
Gen.G, but it's these punishes from Hanwha in these fights, the Jarb and the lack of respect on the engage range here. The fact that Zeus can follow up so easily, the fact that they can charm, and the coordination between Peanut and Zeka on these engages has been fantastic. Even Fate's Call being used as an additional form of engage here for Hanwha Life, as well as safety. This means this composition for them looks incredibly practiced, and perhaps I misjudged the draft. Perhaps, you know, what looked like, oh, we're just going to go Camille here. It was what I thought. It looked like a bit of a desperation pick. Maybe this is actually something that's super well coordinated, super well prepared for Hanwha Life, because that's what it's looking like to me right now in this second game. where they're poised to potentially go up to match point, 4,000 gold the lead.
Yeah.
But this Kalista is just too big to fail.
Too big to fail. I mean, 7-0 for Viper. You hit the nail on the head saying that he was the key player, Wolf, at the beginning of the day, because everybody wants to look at Zeus and he has, you know, second most palm points and everything, but like, Viper is the guy in these big series that can really put the hurt into, especially when you disrespect them in the draft, as you were talking about, Ox and Wolf.
おお、いいとこにちょうどしたけど、2回目がない。金買って、おピーナッツのウルトもあんまり良くない。あれなんか死んだ。ゼウス死んだ。What？ 金のウルトがめっちゃ良かったせいで混乱したな、HLE。
Will Gen.G consider a 25-minute Baron to try to come back?
ランドルートで死んだのか。
I mean, there's no flash for Peanut, but he is Jarvan.
I think you have to do it. You know, you have the pillar, which is a great way of keeping him out the pit. You have Ruler, who could even like threaten over the wall. I think you're in a bad spot in this game. You go for it.
Yeah. You have so much Baron damage too.
I mean, there's no ults here for Hanwha Life. Like, how do they win a fight? They have to look for a steal, and that's all they've got. Peanut's on vision. I think this is a secure, pretty easy.
They're gonna deal with that. Yeah, he's just gonna be zoned away. Nicely done by Gen.G here, looking for an angle back in this game where it looked extremely dire.
At this level, we're looking at the number 1, number 2 teams here in the LCK. The number 1 and number 2 potentially seeds for MSI.
ドライブリンク見てエンゲージしたけど、いいウルト来て、ただデライトもうまく返して、ゼカもいい入った。
Turning what was a potential catch into a re-engage and a forced fight.
ああ、ビジョンないからだな、これ。このリバーブッシュ、ビジョンなくて何もできてないな。カリッサが前に生きるような状態じゃないね。コントロールワード刺さったら入れたかもね、もしかしたら。状況的には戦えんこともないぐらいだった、ギリ。
He bought a lot of time.
Doing it again as Keen. I think you overstepped quite a bit on this one. They are going to get the turret, but now we got a charm here on a ruler who has to get Mikhail's. And yeah, he's going to get away for now, but now Zeus is going in, and the chase potential of his comp here from HLE is huge. The charm goes in.
ウルト食らって、ウルトいるすぎて。
And that might not be enough for him to get away. Canyon be in hand. So once again, and this Trundle is doing nothing in this game. It's 3 more kills to the side of HLE.
だってミカエル
still has not died.
I mean, that's basically your
あ、打
Baron
ってるのか、
all
どこかに打
washed
ってるな。
away.
エズかな？
Gen.G get punished here in the mid lane. And man, Chovy played it so well. He's on the edge of the ultimate, and there's just too much CC. There's too many threats.
I'm just gonna say, I feel like there's been a lot of caster cases.
構成弱いな、Gen.G。
We praise Viper.
We're so powerful.
We praise HLE. HLE end up losing the fight. I was praising Keen. This happened, you know. But this was HLE punishing Gen.G overstepping with the Baron, and you just see the relentless engage tools that HLE have. You know, it's even with Delight not being on an engage support, he's making it work. The fact that he can be thrown in by Viper, the fact he has the hostile takeover, but it's the Camille, it's the Ari being able to go forwards.
He's had such a better angle on Chovy. The pivot there on the engage from Zeus to decide to ult Chovy instead of looking for the chase on Ruler, who spaced his way away with the Mikhail's already out. You know, then you just go CC after CC after CC, and Chovy is out of the fight, had his Zonias, but just couldn't use it until it was far too late because of the CC. Hanwha Life now looking for their second opportunity to get this Infernal Soul, and they have so much control. Keen TP's in.
Chovy in a lot of trouble here. 4 seconds until the Hextech ultimatum, and Peanut's going to keep him around in time. And now Chovy's got a shield, and a Zonia's might be enough. But here comes the Ari, and Chovy's going to go down, and that is a massive pick. Before it even begins, it's Canyon! He's running straight at the Kalista. Viper is a menace right now on this pick as Zeka goes in.
一応キンがフロントだけどな、でもこれライズがいないとダメージ絶対足りないな。うわ、ミカエルが綺麗に入ったがフラッシュした。あ、無理だな、全然無理だ。
They take the fight, and they will be getting this Infernal Soul.
I think trying to greed for Keen here is not the right call from Zeus. He will back away as this turret gets pressured. That's all Gen.G get is a consolation inner. I mean, that's some gold, that's some relevance, but you're now fighting into Infernal Soul for the rest of the game.
And Chovy's overextended here, finding a great angle. That's
Gen.G の構成、本当に機動力がない。
tries to get away, uses the flash, uses the Zonyas, but it's not enough with the rest of
HLE の機動力構成に完全にもう回答されきってる。
Was a close game. Either team could have won. It came down to a matter of inches. But in this game, the gap is large. It feels like HLE are miles ahead in terms of the execution, in terms of the advantages they're finding. And it feels like Gen.G are kind of scrambling. There are brief moments where it looks like Gen.G have the cohesion, but for the majority, it's HLE on the same page. And they're just picking them apart.
We talked about the archetypes earlier, you know, the dive and the front to back. You know, Gen.G kind of have this front to back where they have this insanely scaling mid laner, does a ton of damage. And basically an AP carry, a safe carry here for Ruler on the Ezreal in the front line. But HLE just don't care. They will find and isolate any target, and they're so far ahead. Even the Scion could be a victim. The Trundle has been punished so many times, 6 in fact, to be exact here, and Hanwha Life just have no mercy in this second game.
Yeah, the Trundle has done absolutely nothing. Keep in mind it was their first pick, and they tried to craft a comp around it, but HLE saw it, and they just bopped it on the head with a giant red hammer. And there's not really anything that Gen.G have been able to do in this game. Now there's still a chance, but it doesn't feel very likely when you've got this Kalista who is 9-0. Looking for the first defensive item on top of the Terminus, and he's got a Renata, he's got the Knight's Vow, he has Redemption on top of it, Barrier. He's got a team that will be able to set up fights for him. Nobody is touching this Kalista in this game, and you gave over Kalista Renata in the draft, and Hanwha Life laughed at you.
And I thought
he can take you out.
I thought the trade-off wasn't necessarily going to be worth it, but with the execution this clean from Hanwha, with the coordination that's this good, and the clutch in the fights is this good, then yeah, you can just take that early game lead and run with it for the entire game.
We've seen so many Kalista games where she does like 7k damage, but she still felt like she did a lot for the team. Viper has 32,000 damage, the most by far out of anybody in this game.
And you know what? HLE banned Kalista on red side when Talia and Poppy were in the mix. It feels like they respected the pick so much more because, you know, those picks are so effective into it. And despite them being open, they were like, no, we don't want to see Ruler playing it. We think the pick is too powerful. And I think Gen.G just didn't rank it as highly. They thought we can answer, we can deal with it. And I think the evidence is in front of us. You know, clearly players like Viper, just you have to respect a pick like Kalista. Even with what Gen.G thought was enough, it wasn't.
Especially with Renata open. I mean, there was just a lot given over. And now HLE with Infernal Soul looking for the Baron. And I mean, they have the super fit Kalista. They can do it in about 10 seconds. I wouldn't even be surprised. So Gen.G, they have to move forward. They have to try to charge into a team that's very far ahead of them, that has objectives over them. Not to mention the Otacon, which Gen.G also desperately tried to take earlier and got punished for.
I mean, Zeus' items right now, these 3 items make it so easy to just go in. Like, you can commit, you will get tons of value even if you die with this setup. And, I mean, now we're just turning our eyes towards Baron here. As you can see, Gen.G nothing. They can't see anything. So you have to be incredibly cautious, and I think when we toggle the vision, it's gone.
The objective is gone. We talked about the Baron damage. It's gone. Canyon, either he flashes in and dies. He is going to get, he can't get it. There's just no way. And they don't even bother turning onto him because they know they can do it later. As, okay, big slam. That is going to force the...
でもこれ無理やり行くの。うわ、すんごいな。Oh my god.
Take their wallets and they bash them over the heads with it as down goes Keen as well.
ねじ込んだね。
Viper is legendary in this game. Nobody can handle him with this many
マジで無理だ今の。
on the roster, and also Zeka did 6k damage in that.
This is something else. When we saw these teams match up last few times in best of 5s, yes, Hanwha was the victor, but it was a lot closer. The first time they won in LCK Summer, it was a big upset. We were like, okay, Hanwha, a new challenger, a new champion, but this time they just look like they are way more prepared than Gen.G.
They're making Gen.G look like they are not the ones that were undefeated. HLE look like